If you want to burn everything to the ashes with a single hit, then stick till the end of this video. Welcome everybody to the Hu Tao's guide. She's the next on the list out of many characters that I have, 56 to be exact at this moment. So as always we are going to start with her talents. And yes, I did triple crown her and we're going to talk about why. So before we talk about talents, I'm just going to show you the artifacts. I'm using Crimson on her, I'm not using Shimenava or some other combination, so I'm using Crimson, and that is why I triple crowned her. If you're using Shimenava, then you will not need to upgrade her burst. So let's talk about talents. First on the list, normal attack. As always, you are getting all of the multipliers for the all basic attacks, charge one and plunge. And if you take a look at your skill, well, skill has only the attack increase, or as I love to say it, conversion into the attack. So 6% of max HP from Hu Tao is converting into Pyro damage, which is multiplying with her normal attacks. And that means that you need both of these at the same level, if not even crowned, as I did here. And now for the last thing, her burst. As I said, if you're using Shimenava, because Shimenava is taking energy from burst, well, you would maybe even not use her burst ever, but if you're using Crimson as I am, be sure to upgrade her burst, because as you saw in my showcases, her burst does a lot of damage. And that's even with the bad artifacts, which I will show you shortly. Next thing, Staff of Homa. I think we do not need even to talk about any other weapon, because Staff of Homa is giving you so incredible boost that any other weapon will never surpass. Not even Calamity, Engulfing definitely not. Jade Spear has potential but not even close. Vortex not even close to the Jade one. Deathmatch definitely no. There is no other spear that is even close to the Staff of Homa. And before you go for the Constellations, be sure to pull her weapon. And we are going to talk about Constellations in a short bit. But yes, go for the weapon instead of Constellations. Once again. It's becoming the point where I'm always saying that you are going for weapon instead of the Constellations, but that's just how it is. Only Raiden is probably one that could use C2 more than her weapon, but the only way it's worth it is if you are lucky enough to get her much faster than you would get her weapon. So that's just the reason why I'm saying always go for the weapon instead of the Constellations, because weapon is giving you not only aesthetics but much more damage than Constellations will ever. Next thing, artifacts. Well, as I said, I'm using Crimson, and yes, my artifacts are trash, but still I did over 500,000 damage with no problem, even with trash artifacts. And you will see them, yes, just wait a minute. The other option I said is that you could use Shimenava, and that is because Hu Tao's skill has incredible damage, It's sometimes even better to use Shimenava than Crimson, but we all love that one-shotting, that big damage with the burst. So yes, I'm using Crimson because I'm not going to use Shimenava or only skill Hu Tao, however you want to call it. In the end, that's the only reason. So, the artifacts. Let's say this one is okay. Next one. This one is okay too. Sand. Well, this is terrible. Yes, completely terrible. But this is the best I got. And I know that's horrible. The sand that you will want to use will be Elemental Mastery, as I'm using here, because you will go for the vape or melt Hu Tao. I mean, I guess you would go for it, because if you are putting attack, then you are not getting anything from the vaping and melting. So the Elemental Mastery will provide you with some more boost than the attack sand would. So go for the Elemental Mastery. I hope you get lucky, because I did not. I was farming for my Hu Tao for 2 straight months, and yes, this is what I get. Nothing. Full stop. Nothing. And as you will see here, energy recharge, pretty amazing one. Defense, I would say pretty okay. Energy recharge, amazing one again. And the attack one, that is pretty good. But Elemental Mastery, no. We're not going to give you that one. Yep. That's the world of Genshin. The next thing, Goblet. Well, maybe the only artifact that I am switching from character to character will be this Goblet, this Pyro one that you've seen in Yoimiya's guide. I'm switching it accordingly to the character that I'm using at the moment, because as you will see here, it's the only Goblet that is worth using. Only 13% crit damage, nothing else. 17% crit rate, which is pretty okay, but I'm leaving it on jungling and I'm not switching it anymore. 15% crit damage, nothing too special, and without even one crit roll, another gladiator Pyro Goblet, which is not useful. So there's only one Goblet that I could use, and that's this one. Before I go to the circlet, the only thing that you will need to know, which I guess you know already, all Hu Tao's attacks are only Pyro, so there's not any other option than Pyro Goblet, so don't even bother looking for any other thing. Now, circlet, of course, the crit one. What would you expect? When it comes to circlet, once again, as the sand, I don't have a good one. Here on the Yanfei, with the 8% crit damage and Hu Tao's 15.5 crit damage, well, that's just terrible. I don't have any other options from the Crimson, and these two are pretty depressing. Now I will show you my stats before we go to the Constellations. Just a glimpse look, and yup, 67 to 20. I mean, you will say it's pretty okay, but Hu Tao could use some more crit rate, and with terrible artifacts as I have, well, there's so much room to improve here. But we will come back to that in a minute. Constellations. Okay, everyone is saying that Hu Tao is not playable if she is not C1. Let me tell you, I have my Spiral Abyss runs with Hu Tao C0 R1 and she did amazing job. Now, C1, yes, you're not consuming stamina, but you're not going to spam her charge attack like a lunatic, okay? You are going to use her normal attacks in combination with her charge attack, because her first attack is taking so much time from you. And after I'm done with all of this, I will show you that 3 basic attacks and then charge attack is something that is much faster and dealing much more damage. Possibly. I might be wrong, but that's the way that you are playing C0 Hu Tao. Now for the C2, well, Blood Blossom is not dealing that much damage, so you do not need to worry about this, because in the end C2 is worthless. C3 is okay because you're upgrading her skill, but C5 is also okay because you are upgrading her burst. If you're using Crimson, then yeah, it's okay too. But C3 and C5 are too far away from C1, which is fine to go for, but you do not need it. So just leave Constellations at 0. Now, C4. There's a long way to come to the C4, and to get 12% crit rate increased, well, that's definitely not worth it. And when we come to C6, well, C6 is amazing, but we once again hit the floor with our head, because $1,000 for C6, and if you do not have that much money to waste, well, do not go for it. Do not go for even C1, not to talk about C6 anymore. But yes, C6 is amazing because you do not need crit rate. You are getting 100% the moment that you get under 25% of her HP, or yes, Lethal Strike. That is, I guess, 10k, 20k, it depends on the enemy. But what's the most important thing is that you are getting 100% crit rate, which is amazing. And it means that you can build your Hu Tao with over 300% crit damage and 0% crit rate. As we enter the stats, I will tell you that Elemental Mastery is important. Get at least 200 or 300, it depends how lucky you are. Crit rate, I guess it would be okay above 75%, because you want to crit with your burst every single time. And if you're not using burst, well, if you're using your Hu Tao only for the skill, the Shimenawa Hu Tao, you will want your charge attacks to hit every single time those 200k damage that is pretty easy to acquire with your Hu Tao. And when it comes to crit damage, well, you know, as far as you can go, the better it will be. Energy recharge, well, 120 I think it's enough. I didn't have any problems with energy recharge, because when you activate her skill and you are using her, well, you are getting so much energy. And yes, I do think that 120 is more than enough, so don't worry about it. Okay, so before we go to the teams and what combinations you can go for, we're going to talk about her attacks. Now, 1, 2, 3 charge. Tell me, which is faster? Just this? Or 1, 2, 3, whoop. I will put them side by side on the screen, but as you will see here, you're not consuming that much energy, and you do not need your C1 Hu Tao. So don't worry about it. You can go just with the 3 attacks and then charge one. Teams. Let's talk about teams. Well, the same thing as Yoimiya, just a little bit different. If you watched my showcase video, you would know that the Melt team did 659,000 damage, and the Vape team with Mona did 549,000 damage. Well, it's only 100k difference. When it comes to Yoimiya's team, it is even closer than Hu Tao's. So I suggest going for the Melt one this time, but there's a little problem. If you are going to use Yoimiya and Hu Tao, well, Benny is going in both teams. So that's going to give you some troubles which you cannot overcome. You will need to choose which team you will go for and which characters you built already, because Bennett is the Pyro booster and he's going to be used with your Pyro DPSs. Many players use Zhongli with Hu Tao because after using skill, Hu Tao needs shield because she's low on HP all the time. And yes, you can use this team, but there's a little twist. Your Xingqiu will do more Vape than your Hu Tao will ever. And that is because all of your enemies will have Pyro application all the time. Xingqiu will not be able to give that much Hydro application, but in the end it will turn the opposite, which is why I was using Mona in the team, and which is why I was using 2 Cryo characters. In Yoimiya's showcase, I did use Zhongli and Xingqiu, Zhongli and Ganyu, and maybe some other combinations too, but in the end Xingqiu will not be able to give you enough hydro application to overcome Bennett and Hu Tao at the same time. So be sure to go double hydro or double cryo. As I said, in Hu Tao's team it is much better to go for the double cryo, because you would want to go for a melt. I know 100k is not that much damage, but over time it can build up to something much higher, which will end up being crucial in some battles. That would be it from this guide. If you have some other questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next guide.